How We Got Here. How We Got Here, and we are talking superheroes today, John.
That's right, Jason.
That's your superhero.
Superheroes. Yeah, that's right. The history of superheroes. Now, it's summer, right? And of course, summer means summer blockbusters. And I don't know a lot about superhero films. I'm so very sorry, but I wanted to do this segment today because I'm interested. Because superhero films are so hugely popular around the world.
Did you know that Black Widow movie is actually coming out very, very soon in theaters near you?
Yeah, well, did you know that I was going to mention that right now?
Oh, no. Did you know that actor Park Seo-joon actually recently joined the Marvel Cinematic Universe and everyone is excited about it?
Oh, yeah? Well, did you know that my foot was hurting last week, but now it doesn't hurt at all?
Because you're annoyed by me right now.
No, you're right. Of course, Black Widow, hugely anticipated with
Right.
Scarlett Johansson, Venom.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's right, with, what's his face, Tom Hardy. The Suicide Squad, Shang-Chi and the Legend of Ten Rings, which I'm particularly interested in because finally, you know, superhero films, they're always doing kung fu moves. Now we got an Asian face doing kung fu.
Yeah.
Finally, right?
Yeah, it's been interesting how many Koreans have been getting involved. I mean, obviously, Koreans have been becoming more proactive in Hollywood, but in particular, they're making themselves more present in these superhero movies in particular.
Oh, that's fantastic. I mean, because again, you know that superhero landing that everybody does?
Oh, yeah.
That
what,
started
on
down
the
on
knee.
one track.
Yeah, it started. I mean, come on. They're just appropriating so many moves from Asian, you know, martial arts, and it's nice to see a bunch of Asians doing it for once. But you know, so we love our superheroes. They've been around for an awful long time, as I'm sure you know, because the segment's called How We Got Here. The word superhero dates back to 1917, so a little over 100 years, right?
Oh.
And that term was actually used in newspapers first, believe it or not. If somebody saved somebody's life or went above and beyond the call of duty for somebody, they were called superheroes. It was just kind of a word people used.
Even for an ordinary person without superpowers.
This is before character superheroes existed.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's meant for a normal person. But the idea of the superhero existed far before that. Think Greek and Roman mythology. As I'm sure you guys were thinking.
Like
right?
Hercules or Samson.
That's right. And you know, it's pretty interesting when I was doing research on this. So let's take Wonder Woman, for example. She comes from a fictional race of warrior women called the Amazons, right? Which means warrior.
Yeah.
Kate was saying fictional. What are you talking about?
But, you know,
I am Wonder Woman.
but this race of warrior women actually existed in real life.
What?
Oh.
Yeah. So relics were found of ancient Iranian women warriors who existed about 2,000 years ago. So apparently ancient Greeks and Persians had deep rivalries and many, many, many battles. And Greek pottery that they found, they unearthed, depicts battles with these Persian Amazon women.
Oh.
So apparently it's kind of a real thing.
So in like the movie 300, it wasn't supposed to be that Persian king. It was supposed to be against Wonder Woman. Sparta!
Now you are actually intertwining universes too much. That's just too
Universes
far.
are
I'm sorry.
colliding.
I'm sorry. No, then we got Thor, the Germanic god of thunder, Aquaman, who's basically Poseidon, right?
Yeah.
The god of the sea. And we got Batman, based on an ancient bat god who liked to wear tight underwear.
What?
No, you're joking.
That may or may not be true.
Nice try.
Guest host discretion. The point is, superheroes are modern retellings of ancient stories to kind of help us understand our world in different ways. Kind of folk tale, colorful ways, right?
Yep.
So we're going to talk a little bit about when superheroes entered our modern era, or the comic book, let's say. Now, do either of you guys like comic books, or had you when you were kids?
I used to when I was younger. I remember reading them in the certain stores and stuff. But I did have a couple of friends that collected like the early Spider-Man issues.
They
and
are
the
so happy right
X-Men.
now.
Oh yeah, they're filthy rich with those now.
It's crazy. It's funny you mention that because Action Comics #1 from 1938. That was a Superman comic.
Oh.
Okay.
So that's the first comic superhero that was ever created.
Yes, and it sold for 10 cents back in 1938.
Ooh, talk about inflation.
Yeah, 2014. $3.25 million US.
Oh my gosh.
That's what it sold for. Is that crazy?
Wow.
That's nuts.
I guess the question would be, how many of those are still around? Because
Don't know,
obviously everyone that collected comic books back in those days, you'd think it was read and then thrown away at some point. I mean, who...
Oh.
Back in that time would have been smart enough to think, I think in about 80 years this might be worth something, so I'm going to put it into a piece of plastic and preserve it the best I can.
Well, probably the original nerds, right? Because nerd culture started with comic books, presumably. But what's really interesting is, in the early part of the 1900s, a lot of superheroes that we know and love came to be born. Like 1903, the Scarlet Pimpernell was the first masked Avenger.
Oh.
He was a British play called the Scarlet Pimpernel. Talked about this masked Avenger who righted wrongs and who beat up bad guys and stuff. 1934, Flash Gordon, Batman, The Flash. Right?
Yeah.
This is how old a lot of these characters are. 1940s, Green Lantern, Captain America, Black Widow, Wonder Woman. And then the 60s was like really the golden
boom.
era, right?
Yeah.
Spider-Man, Black Panther, Hulk, Ant-Man, Iron Man, Thor, Avengers, Justice League, X-Men, Fantasy Four, on and on and on and on and on.
Basically when Stan Lee was introducing characters left, right, and center because he wrote so many of those things for Marvel Comics.
That's right. That's when the Marvel Universe was starting to be born. And it's really quite amazing, this whole idea of superheroes. Because, what are they? What's a superhero to you?
A superhero.
To you?
Yeah.
Just a superhero.
I think of someone with a special power of some sort. And usually as kids, we all think about, well, if you could have any special power, what would you want to be able to do?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's the answer right there. It's basically us, right? Our best selves in an alternate fantasy world, perhaps, right? We love how humble superheroes are, wearing masks to hide their identity while they do good for others, defeating evil.
Yeah.
Any one of us, if we did good, we'd want to kind of show off and be recognized for it, right? But we want to, in our fantasy life, want to do good and not be recognized, right? The humility of it all. And superheroes just offer that to us. And it's really quite amazing. So I think that's why they're so popular right now, the superhero universes.
Whoa.
And they're always doing righteous things, like you mentioned, in a humble way. Because I think if you look at the reality of it, people are thinking, I got superpowers. How can I get rich?
Yeah.
Much like when you think of the Spider-Man backstory of, when he got his powers, it's like, whoa, I can make money as a professional wrestler. And I think that's the natural instinct of most people because we live in a world that's dominated by money, right? So I think that's the natural instinct. But when you see the comics, you see these superheroes that are actually very pure in their ways and motives.
Kind of like morality tales in a way, right?
Yeah.
And we just love how resourceful they are. They're confronted with impossible tasks. And because a lot of things that happen in our life, we think, oh, this is impossible. I'll never be able to get through this. But you see a superhero story and it kind of inspires you. So back in the early 30s, the 40s, these comic books were inspiring kids and adults to overcome a lot of difficulties in their lives.
Oh, yeah.
Because back in those days, they didn't have social media or YouTube to gain inspiration through other people and other good acts from what other people are doing. But you can buy a comic book for 10 cents back in those days to gain your inspiration.
That's right. And, it's kind of interesting. The more I was reading about these superheroes and a lot of the folks that really love them, you realize they're kind of symbols for things we wish for in life. We wish for confidence. We wish for strength, fairness, a life's purpose.
Oh, yeah.
And that's kind of a big one there. And superheroes kind of offer that to us.
Absolutely. Larger than life characters that can do no bad. Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about superheroes after Alicia Keys with It's On Again. Jason, John, and Kate, we're talking superheroes today. Who is your favorite superhero and why? Text us your answers. Sharp 1013, and that will cost you 51 for a short message, 101 for a longer one. DM us at Instagram at The Steve Hatherly Show, or leave us a comment on our YouTube live stream at TBS EFM Live. Maybe even let us know your favorite superpowers as well, because sometimes, you have superheroes that you like, but it might be different from a superpower that you might particularly want for yourself.
Yeah, that's right. It's a good idea.
Yeah.
Now, before, so we were talking about the superhero universes and the comics and the films and why they've done so well over the years. They kind of satisfy our need for good to beat evil, right? In a world that sometimes feels hopeless, sad, and depressing. But they're also stories about social issues wrapped in a cape and a mask. And I'm sure a lot of us kind of caught on to it when we were kids, right? Take Superman from 1938. What is he? He's an alien. He's a foreigner, quote unquote. He has to try really hard to fit in with his new home. And it's really a tale of immigrants becoming citizens of their adopted homes. And you can look online, and there are these essays written by people talking about how superheroes are essentially these folk tales about things like immigration. Take Wonder Woman from 1941. She was a champion of women's rights. She had powers originally. That's how she was written, right? And then somewhere along the line, a bunch of dudes in suits say, let's take her superpowers away for some reason. And then a woman said, you know what? She needs her superpowers back. And then it's like she really did stand for women's rights back in the 40s and the 50s. Yeah, she was a central character in that.
I never thought about it
Which
that
would have
way.
been right around World War II, by the way. So, they're trying to get women involved in the war effort back then as well. So perhaps a symbol of someone that can really make a difference in the world.
Yeah, that's right. You got somebody like Spider-Man from the 60s. I mean, he's taking his powers from the natural world. And during that time is when people started to kind of have this move back towards nature, just pre-hippie, right? When people are starting to get back in touch with nature. And Spider-Man kind of is a symbol of that. His power is from nature. You take somebody like Black Panther, who came out in 1966. Diversity.
Whoa.
Right? Representing the African-American community in the U.S. They were totally left out of the superhero world.
Yeah.
But in the 60s, we had the civil rights movement. And so he came at just the right time, Black Panther did. A lot of black kids out there had no heroes they could identify with until Black Panther.
Oh, that's kind of crazy.
I mean, it's really interesting how a lot of these superhero comics were really meant to be social commentary. Kind of like the early Bugs Bunny cartoons. Tons of social and political commentary in those
Yeah.
things. It's really fascinating stuff.
And when you watch the movies, even nowadays, like Black Panther, for instance, I mean, you see the social issues that they brought into those movies as well. And certainly, do a good job with that.
Yeah, it's all about storytelling. And nowadays, of course, we have so many superheroes. I can't even keep track of how many superheroes there are, but they represent some part of culture somewhere, So you got a lot more representation and a lot more diversity in the superhero universes. And that's only a good thing, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk your favorite superheroes. Of course, we're asking the audience for theirs. Kate, do you have a favorite?
I mean, I love them all, and I'm not just saying this because, trying to be politically correct or anything like that, but I actually personally like Black Widow. I think I like her redemptive arc, so to say, her story. I don't know exactly from the comic books, so I can't comment on that. But what I've seen in the movies, she started off as like a Russian spy, and then she did it for personal gain or just for her country, or she was coerced into that kind of a thing. But then later on to kind of sacrifice her own life so that they could save all of humanity type of thing, I think is very redemptive. I like that about her.
One of my favorite superheroes is kind of a strange one that most people might not have heard of, but there was a TV show back in the 80s called The Greatest American Hero.
Oh my gosh, believe it or not,
Exactly.
It's just me.
But the cool thing about that was it was just a normal person that received this suit from aliens, and the suit gave him powers, but he didn't know how to use the suit.
Oh.
So he didn't get the instruction manual with it. So he's got all these powers that he doesn't know how to use. So it's kind of like a clumsy superhero. And I thought that was kind of cool because you're not this all-powerful being. You actually have your own shortcings because you don't know the powers that you actually have.
Yeah, that was a really cute TV series.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm starting to remember that. I remember watching that too. Mine, it's Batman. But from the Lego movie.
The Lego movie. Oh, because there's some cool voice work in that.
It's hilarious. I mean, to be honest, I'm not a huge superhero fan. Never really have been. But when I saw the Lego movie and I saw Will Arnett's doing Batman, it is so hilarious. So I'm going to say Batman from Lego movie.
And I think the Batman from Lego movie, if I'm not mistaken, was actually meant to be a little bit of a spoof. And like it was never meant to be what it became. But you know,
I think it was meant to be a spoof of like the Dark Knight or something like that, wasn't it?
but then it just became this beast of its own and became uber popular to the point where it's your favorite superhero movie as well.
I'm going to go on record and say, yeah, Batman from Lego Movie, my favorite superhero of all time.
Random question. Who's your Batman? Is it Christian Bale or is it Michael Keaton?
Or, well, there's a couple
there's
other,
another
there's
guy.
a bunch of others,
George
actually.
Clooney?
Yeah, there's George
Ew,
Clooney, there's Val
George
Kilmer.
Clooney's your,
Oh, Val
ew,
Kilmer.
There's
Val
the new one as
Kilmer.
well, Pattinson.
Yeah, Robert Pattinson.
Robert
That
Pattinson.
I'm kind of curious to see how it turns out.
There's also Ben Affleck.
oh, you're right.
There's a bunch of Batman. Or you can go way old school, back to
Adam West.
Adam West.
Yeah.
See, now you
I'm
guys
gonna
are
say-
just revealing
I'm
your
gonna say
age.
Adam. No, I mean Adam West is like a classic. Anybody who likes Batman probably has Adam West at the top of the list
Up
because
there.
that TV show was so weird and quirky.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know when you saw it, but I saw it on Saturday morning reruns, and I couldn't wait to watch it because it was just so bizarre. that show.
I mean, it was certainly what we grew up with as superheroes. You know, if you've watched it back then without the modern versions with all the cool special effects. But, you know, back then it was what we had. Anyways, we are talking superheroes today. Who is your favorite superhero? Let us know. And we're going to talk more about that in the second hour of the show, right after the Fallout Boy. This is Immortals.
100 years of wisdom.
Well, let's see if we can cram in 100 years of wisdom into the life spent by John and myself. Kate, you got some questions for us regarding superheroes. Let's see how we do, John.
You know, from the sound of it, Jason, I'm just going to sit over here, sip some tea, and let you answer these.
Yeah, you
I don't
sound
think-
super confident.
You are the superhero fan here, so.
I have to admit that I've seen every MCU movie.
Okay.
I feel bad because it's kind of like every year, it's like, what movie do you want to watch? And when my wife asked me, it's like, well, there's a new MCU movie, so we kind of have to watch that. It seems like every 4 or 5 months I'm watching a new MCU movie because you kind of have to watch all of them for all of them to make sense. It's kind of weird to just watch one.
You know, I prefer to do it that way, just to pop in, watch a movie, go, I have no idea what they're talking about, and then not see another one for another 2 years.
Oh, is that what you do?
I try to keep up, but I'm telling you, there's so many.
There were. And you know, I'm curious to see what happens now that like this phase is kind of done. Like these characters that we'd all see, I think the most popular characters in the MCU. And then now it's moving on to like, you know, these lesser known characters, I would say.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see if the interest continues to the way that it did up until now.
I know, it's phenomenal. But sadly, I don't think watching any of the MCU movies are going to help with this quiz because I really upped the ante on this one. But John, don't worry, you still got a shot at answering these questions.
Oh,
Because,
no, to my mind, I'm just sitting here with my tea.
All right, starting off with the first question. The creator of Wonder Woman is a man called William Moulton Marston. And along with his wife, Elizabeth Marston, the two of them created this character, Wonder Woman. But aside from creating one of the most famous superheroes in the superhero verse, this guy, William, also created a device that was apparently later used by many detectives over the years. Now, although this method had been disproved by multiple studies, it was a clever idea nevertheless. What is this device?
Wait, you're saying the creators, the Marstons who created Wonder Woman,
Yes.
created a device, like for her character,
Like an invention,
like
a real world invention.
Yes, an actual invention.
related to Wonder Woman?
No.
Oh, then I have no idea.
But you
car.
said it's something that they created, but it didn't necessarily work the way that they had planned for it to be?
It worked for, well, it seemed to work for many years until it was disproved later on through many studies saying, actually, it doesn't really work.
Ah, okay. I have a guess.
Okay.
And I think it's got related to Wonder Woman's lasso, which supposedly makes you tell the truth. So I'm going to guess a lie detector.
That's a good answer.
Wow, I love that whole thought progress. That's good. John.
Jason, I'm going to ride on your coattails and say, I'm going to say a lie detector.
You guys are both correct. It is a lie detector. He was the first person to actually come up with the idea of a lie detector.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I kind of am mind blown by that whole connection with Wonder Woman. I wasn't even thinking of that when I came up with the question.
That was her lasso's power.
That's the that's the only reason why this makes sense.
Yeah, because it's the lasso of truth, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But so the lie
Jason,
detector.
you are a nerd. I love you.
I love comic books and superheroes. I admit it.
Yeah, so the lie detector is supposed to be based on like your blood pressure and pulse and how fast it reacts, but apparently it's been disproved because it really depends on the question you're asking, how you ask it, and later on it was just proven that it doesn't correlate to telling the truth
So
or
they
lie.
don't do lie detector
So even
tests
the
anymore?
don't.
even the modern day lie detectors don't work as well. So it's not just the one that he created back in those days.
I heard they do it in some cases, but it doesn't necessarily, it's not like, oh, you lied, you are proven guilty. It's just one of the factors that they could possibly add to their argument, but it's not the one that's going to give the grand slam to the whole judgment of everything. Yeah.
Well, some of the things that people seem to say is that you can beat a lie detector if you know how to beat it, because you know what
Exactly.
are the things that it's measuring on you. So if you know like how it works, then those people can do it. But to the average Joe that doesn't know what's going on,
Yeah.
that might be ignorant, then they're more susceptible to being told that, well, you're actually lying or you're not. Anyways, we're going to get more into some of these superhero powers and questions and quizzes in a moment after Major Lazer and Powerful. If you like superheroes, if you love superheroes, you are at the right place because Kate has all our superhero facts.
Yes, I do. And I'm moving on to a lesser known superhero for this next question, but fear not because it might not be as difficult to answer just because you don't know this character. Now, we're familiar with the big names, but there are also a lot of many lesser known superheroes in the whole verse. For example, there's one called Matter Eater Lad from the planet Bismol.
Wait. What was his name?
Matter Eater Lad.
Yes, Matter
Eater Lad?
Lad.
Wait, and if there's a lad in there, was he created by a British?
I know. What kind of a superhero name is that?
Matter Eater chap right there. Anyways, his superpower is the ability to eat everything. And I mean everything.
Well, I
like,
got that superpower.
He should enter the hot dog eating contest on Coney Island.
There you go.
I was thinking more like eating a bomb so that it doesn't diffuse on people kind of thing. But that's also a thing. There's also animal, vegetable, mineral man whose ability is being able to turn into any animal, vegetable, or mineral at the same time.
Look, up in the sky. It's animal, vegetable, that guy, whatever his name is.
Okay, so then here's my question. There's another lesser known superhero who's called Chlorophyll Kid.
No, there isn't.
There
Chlorophyll
is.
Kid.
The Chlorophyll Kid?
Yes, the Chlorophyll Kid.
Oh, my goodness.
Guess what this superhero power is?
Well, clearly, it's got to be the power to absorb sunlight and turn it into energy or something and then grow. So he has no superpower. He's a plant.
Chlorophyll is, it's the green stuff in plants that absorb the sun's rays.
Yes.
And turn it into energy. So, good.
Oh,
You guys are on the right
has
track, though.
The power to be delicious with a lovely vinaigrette. That's his
Kind
superpower.
of morbid, John.
Well, it's greens. Good for you.
You pickle them long enough and it'll turn into kimchi.
Oh, I like that answer.
Chlorophyll Kid has a lot of powers.
That's interesting.
You got to kind of think it very simply. Chlorophyll Kid.
I'm gonna think that he's a plant, kind of like Groot in what's that called?
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy. So he's gonna be like a tree or a plant of some sort that can use branches and grow his arms to grab things.
That would be extremely cool, but in fact, his power is to make any plant grow really large. So if you have a withering plant at home, you just need to call Chlorophyll Kid.
Or you're a florist.
Or some of the veggies I have in my fridge that's been there too long, he could bring them back to life.
Oh, maybe.
Those
Anyways.
brown veggies can be green again.
Yes, there's probably a reason why he wasn't super popular.
Who thinks of a character like that for a superhero? Come on.
Apparently they did. How about one last question? Here. Now, if you're familiar with Iron Man, you know that Tony Stark refers to his artificial intelligence system known as Jarvis. Right? Jarvis. We know he later became Vision, blah, blah, blah. The name sounds very sophisticated, but it's not as sophisticated as you think it is. Can you guess what Jarvis, Jarvis, stands for?
Can I say bad words?
You may say that in your mind.
Then I can't tell you what I just said.
Okay.
You know,
Jarvis.
I can't think. I feel like I've seen this somewhere before in like a YouTube video where they explain certain things because every now and then when I have free time, I do check out some of these videos. But
Jump and read very intensely, sir.
Jump and read it.
That's
it's
what
kind
Iron
of
Man does.
similar.
what could the J be? I mean, that right there is, I'm already stumped on the J.
All right, I'm going to give you guys the answer. It's just a rather very intelligent system.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
What
Just
a
a
letdown that
rather.
was.
I told you, it's not as intelligent as you might think it sounds.
Pretty crazy. Well, it certainly was a big part of the movies that we've been able to see so far in the
Yeah.
MCU, and it's been very, very entertaining. We're going to get more into superhero talk after we hear from Kelly Clarkson. This is Invincible. All right. We are talking superheroes today, and let's take a look at 1443. Once my husband was listening to music and dancing along, I teased him that he could have joined the boy group Super Junior, but he is so old now, he can only join Super Senior. And our little daughter ran to us and said, "No, Daddy isn't Super Senior. He is a superhero." LOL.
Very cute, but that's a really sick burn.
Super senior.
Good on ya.
Saved by daughter, though. Abigail says, 안녕하세요. 혹시나 해서 방송 들었는데 다행히 음악만 나오는 게 아니네요. 저의 아들은 자기가 초능력이 있는 줄 알아요. 아들이 몇 번 비 왔으면 좋겠다라고 말하고 기도한 적이 있었는데 진짜 비 안 와서 일주일에 몇 번 쓸 수 있는 초능력이 있다며 귀여워요. So Abigail has a son. Apparently, the son thinks that he has some kind of superpower, and whenever he prays that there's going to be no rain, then there's no rain, and he believes that it's because of his superpower that there's no rain or rain that comes.
Oh, I like that kid.
See if he can make it work for the next couple of weeks.
I know, right?
As we enter Jangma season.
I know.
John, how about taking a look at Baltazar Matet?
You betcha. Baltazar says, I really like the Avengers. My favorite has no superhuman powers, except when he used the Pym particles. Hawkeye. I mean, it takes a lot of courage and bravery to fight knowing you're just human.
Oh.
That's a good one.
There's a great skit with Hawkeye in Saturday Night Live, and I think he's out there, and he always talks about that where he's like, man, like I don't even have any actual superpower. I'm just accurate.
I'm just raising my hand here. Question?
Yes?
Professor, wait, who's Hawkeye again?
Hawkeye's the archer.
Oh, Jeremy Renner.
Yeah, Jeremy Renner. That's
Oh,
right.
yeah, poor
That
guy.
was an actual question. I thought that was a burn.
No. I seriously did. Okay, now I know. He's the bow and arrow dude. All right,
Yeah.
got it.
And there's at some point there's always going to be a question as he's firing off arrows. I'm out of arrows.
That's my question. Does he go pick them up after himself, or what
Probably.
happens?
He's got to quickly create his own arrows to fire off.
Oh
some
my
more.
gosh.
All right, let's take a look at our winners today. We're going to be firing you off some gift vouchers for coffee, 2304, 2605, and 2027. Thank you for your messages, and we will show our appreciation to you by gifting you some free coffee vouchers.
Yeah. I believe we have some time to read a couple more messages, if that's all right.
Yeah.
7264 says, I love everything Spider-Man. I find that Peter Parker is always so down to earth and nerdy, and I love what they did with him in the MCU.
Especially the new actor that
Tom
they got.
Holland.
Yeah, like I love how just the way he acted, his character's just so seems so vulnerable when he's
Yeah.
actually Peter Parker, as opposed to the two previous versions of Spider-Man.
I know. It kind of seems like it was almost the evolution. You kind of started off with Tobey Maguire, and then it gets a little bit more closer with Andrew Garfield, and then they kind of nailed it with Tom Holland.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
he played a great job. And also just the way he talks, like, he kind of, oh, wow, that's so cool, man. Like,
Yeah.
he talks like a high school kid that just doesn't know what's going on in the world
Yeah,
just
for
yet.
sure. A couple more messages, maybe? 7873 says, hi there, it's hot today. I'm going to the doctor's office and my superhero is my mom. That's because I grew up around my mother's huge love. Take care and break a leg. I'm guessing that's to you, Jason.
I hope that's in reference to Hollywood performance rather than literal, but thank you. Much appreciated.
Yeah, and I think there are a couple of other answers. 8754 says, Captain America's super cool. I love Steve Rogers and he's on the top 5 list of heroes because even when he was just a scrawny kid from Brooklyn, he stood up for himself. And I think that's why we all love Captain America, right? And there's also like The Incredibles. I was not even thinking about that. The baby from The Incredibles.
Oh my
yeah.
gosh, that's right.
Jack! Yeah.
Well, certainly it's been fun talking superheroes all day long, and certainly it's been fun being with you guys today. Much appreciated. And remember, tomorrow, Kaylin is going to be joining us as well, so make sure to join us tomorrow. In the meantime, I'm going to leave you with Alesso and Heroes.